So here we have the iPhone 17 Pro Max and the iPhone Air, and we're going to compare them today to see which one is more worth it. And honestly, straight up, of course, more worth it for the money is the Pro Max and the Pro and even the base 17. The Air is just not the phone to buy if you're looking to spend your money in a very wise way. However, that could also be subjective because maybe all the reasons that I wouldn't get the Air are not reasons that bother many of you out there. But let's see, because I've spent some good time with the Air and that camera on there is absolutely fantastic for just being a single lens. And gaming performance and all that is also great. But here we have both of them. Let's talk about the main thing, and that is the screens. We have a 6.5-inch display versus a 6.9-inch display. And I got to tell you, the difference is still huge. The iPhone Air still fits in a lot of pockets, purses, especially with how thin it is. Meanwhile, the Pro Max is hard to fit really anywhere. That extra size is definitely something you'll notice carrying it around all day, especially because we're of course comparing Apple's heaviest and biggest phone to Apple's now thinnest and lightest phone. For the screen size that you're getting with the Air, it's just an absolute joy to use and hold and carry and everything because it's just such a nice size. However, if you're coming from like a smaller phone and then you're testing this one out, it's still going to feel really large and big, and you might still not like it even when compared to the Pro Max. You might just be like, they're both big phones, I don't like them both. Because the Air is still quite a bit bigger than the normal 17 and 17 Pro, and you can kind of see it here. Yeah, you get quite a bit of extra real estate. However, that does translate to enjoying games a little bit more, enjoying viewing photos, getting more text on the screen. If you're hard of seeing, you can increase the text size and it's just going to be more legible on a larger screen. So it has its benefits, which are benefits that in my opinion are outweighed when you go to the Max because of just how bulky and large this is. Now, of course, I know there's people that absolutely don't care carrying the Max, but this is for people that do and are thinking of going to a larger screen. I personally thought maybe I was going to do the Max this year. However, I quickly just changed my mind and got the normal Pro variant because this is just far too big. I wish that the Pro Max was actually this size. I think it would be so nice to have this. Now, the more premium foam here is actually the Air because it's using titanium, and all the materials and the whole phone everywhere, it just feels and looks so much better. It's just minimal. It looks really nice. It feels nice in the hand. And also that titanium is glossy, unlike last year's, which was a matte finish titanium. And the matte finish didn't attract fingerprints. This one does now this year. However, the nice thing for the Air is that it's grippier. So you don't feel like you're going to drop this. Even without a case, it doesn't feel like you're going to drop it because you have a kind of nice grip of it. Meanwhile, the Max, it does have the aluminum, and while it's so big that you can kind of just grasp it with your hand like this and grab it, it is a little bit more slippery because of that aluminum. Not only is it slippery, but it's cheaper and it's going to get scratched like crazy. Kind of a bummer that they went for aluminum here on the sides. It just looks so bad in my opinion, or cheap at least, in comparison to the Air, which this thing is just basically not going to get scratches at all. You would not believe how much I've dropped my 16 Pro and hit it against things, and it has no scratches, not a single scratch in a whole year. So materials wise, the Air is just on another league. And believe it or not, you're not getting that much more screen real estate on the Pro Max for how much bigger it is. Like, it doesn't make up for it. The games still look gigantic on the Air when you're playing them. Are they as big as the Pro Max? No, but they are gigantic still. And you get a really good view of everything. Things just look so good on both of these devices, but on the Air as well. And you're looking at a display that is basically the same on both of these. You're not really giving up anything. Probably peak brightness on the Pro Max outdoors, and it does have supposedly an anti-reflective coating, but honestly, I've tested it and it's basically non-existent. I don't believe the claim really. It's nothing like the S25 Ultra, which actually does look anti-reflective. Now, given that the phones are so delicate this year, specifically the Pro models, that's where a sponsor for today's video comes in, ESR, with their new classic hybrid magnetic case for the Air, the 17, and the 17 Pro Max. This has 3 times the military grade protection, and it's going to protect your phone for when you drop it or anything. And more specifically, it'll protect a lot of the camera on the back because it actually has a camera guard here. You can see it right there. And so it'll protect all the internals, which is very vital for something like the Air because it actually has more internals than ever inside this camera plateau right here. But we also get this stash stand in the camera guard as well. So you can use this to prop it up to watch some content in the mornings when you're eating breakfast, especially for the Pro Max with how heavy it is. You might not want to be holding it the whole time. So you can just prop it up and it's so nice. Now it's also adjustable from 15 degrees to 69 degrees. And the MagSafe on the back has 1500 Gs of magnetic strength, which basically glues it onto any MagSafe accessory out there. So if you put it on a car, on a bike or anything, you can rest assured that it's just glued on there. And so make sure to check out the classic hybrid magnetic case from ESR to protect your Pro Max or your Air or your iPhone 17 down below in the description. And thanks to ESR for sponsoring this video. Now, what about the cameras on here? Because that is the kind of biggest point that everyone's talking about, and for good reason, because we get a lot of cameras on the Pro and Pro Max. We have a 0.5, 1, a digital 2, an actual 4, and then a digital 8 times. So we get 3 lenses and then an extra 8x option, which is similar to the 2x option on here where it's cropped, which is the same 2x option that we have on the Pro right here. And if you decide to zoom in all the way, you can go up to 40 times on the Pro models and 10 times on the Air and the normal 17. So pretty big difference even for digital zoom. The good thing is that for the front-facing cameras, you're getting all the exact same features. So you have that ability to zoom out into the wide angle and then go also to this new square mode where you can now film basically horizontally while holding the phone vertically. And everything is exactly the same here in terms of specs, which is really nice. So you're only really giving up those back cameras and specifically also the ability to do macro mode. So you can get really close to things. You can see here we're still in focus, but here no focus at all. Not even here, not even here. And right there we kind of are. Then we can kind of 2x it, and that's the closest we can get on the Air. And then of course we can use the digital zoom here, try to get as close, and you can see there. But yeah, that's all you can do there with the Air. Meanwhile, you do have that macro mode on the Pro phones, which is kind of a big difference. So of course, you know what you want if you care about the cameras. But if you don't care about the cameras, then this camera is absolutely fantastic. Don't think that you're getting a lesser camera. You're just getting less camera lenses. Now, I do got to tell you, one of my favorite things about the Air is the same thing as one of my favorite things about last year's Pro. And again, the titanium gives you such peace of mind that you can just use this phone without a case or anything like that, and that it's just not going to get banged up, scratched up. I usually use the side of my phone to like click elevator buttons or flip light switches or just for funsies because I'm like walking around and stuff. So yeah, this phone just feels like something that you can have and not worry about. For some reason, the Pro models don't feel like that this year. Now, if you do game, the Pro Max is absolutely insane because of the screen. The screen just feels like, I mean, you basically have your own little movie theater here, which is so nice. Everything is just easy to click, all the touch points and everything, and all games that you play are nice and large. And so, yes, while using the Pro Max, it is the best phone experience ever. Everything is just perfect. Movies, shows, gaming, all that is just absolutely fantastic. But the reason I don't want this phone is because I have to carry this around, and I don't want to carry this around, which is just a bummer. I'm really hoping the iPhone Fold solves this for me, and it's just one phone that I can go to for absolutely everything, because I'm just not going to carry this whole chunk around with me all the time. It's such a chore to pull out this phone to respond to a text message or anything that's simple or 2 seconds. Meanwhile, the Air is something that bridges the gap between both. You still get the larger screen, but it's still easy enough to pull out to reply to a message or something like that. Of course, the 17 and the 17 Pro take the cake for how small they are, but those then don't have the same gaming experience and large screen experience as these two, because it is a huge difference. From the Pro Max to the Air, there's not a big difference on the screen size. However, from the normal Pro and normal 17, you feel it a lot. Like it's a big jump. You get a lot of extra space in games. And so if you're fine with only having a single set of speakers on here, there's only one speaker up here at the top of the phone, which actually, cool little note that I forgot to mention in the 17 versus the Air video is that when gaming, I actually tend to put my finger right here and cover the speaker, the second speaker by mistake. And since the Air only has one speaker, well, this never happens. And so I can just kind of put my finger here. It doesn't matter where I put my finger now, and it's not going to be an issue covering the speaker. Now, of course, I don't get as good audio, but just worth noting in case anyone out there also tends to maybe grab the phone like this or something, it has no issue because the speaker's up here. So you can cover all sides of the phone and still have the audio playing, which is kind of nice. Ergonomics wise, the Air just feels also amazing holding it in the hand and playing games with it like this. Meanwhile, the Pro Max, it's fine, but it's not as kind of nice in the hand. And then if you add a case to this, it gets even bulkier. Meanwhile, if you add a case to this, while it does get bulkier, it's still nowhere near as bulky as the Max, even without the case. Now, battery life is, of course, going to be a big concern for people, but I'm telling you that it should be the least worry here because most of you are always close to a charger if you need it. And if you're not, Apple does sell the MagSafe battery, which is really nice and thin, feels really good. I actually really like it. It does add quite a bit of heft to the phone. It almost feels like twice as heavy once you add it, but it's slim, it looks cool, and it works really well. And that's an if because it still has all day battery life without this battery. This is just going to push it over the top. Now, of course, this is also dependent that you're not doing like 4 or 5 hour gaming sessions. If you're doing that, you're going to blow through the battery life. So yeah, if you're spending most of your day on your phone, then it makes sense that you have something like the Pro Max because that's going to be the battery life that you need, as well as going to be probably the screen that you need. But if you don't spend all day on your phone, then the Air might be the choice here. Of course, this is negating the fact that the Pro and the normal 17 exists. We're just mainly really comparing these because this is just so much easier to pull out, so much easier to have and just kind of daily because it is slim, because it is light, because it feels premium, because it feels like something that you don't have to baby all the time. Oddly enough, even though it's so thin, it just feels robust compared to this, which to me, it just, yeah, it's heavy and a block and a chunk of everything, but it feels cheap. What I'm saying is don't write off the iPhone Air. I've tried to own the Pro Max and I can't do it. The only big phone right now that I would own really is the iPhone Air from Apple. The Pro Max is just so bulky, so chunky that it's really only for a specific user type that needs very specific needs and wants those things and is fine carrying around that phone. Otherwise, go for the normal Pro or go for the normal 17 and be happy with those, or go for the Air. And honestly, don't write off the Air just because of the negatives. Really think it over. And I think it's possible that many of you out there would really love the Air. I say give it a shot. Maybe go check it out in stores. This is a phone worth actually holding and using for a bit to kind of really understand how it feels in the hand. Even though it looks thin on video and stuff, I got to tell you, you are going to hold it in a store and then be like, wow, because it really is a shocking experience. But here it is, all the phones right there. We have the 17, 17 Pro, 17 Air, and Pro Max. You can just see how thin that Air is. It is crazy. But yeah, which one are you getting? Which one would you get? Like, is the Air really as bad as some are making it out to be? Because I feel that people are falling a little bit into the specs trap of only looking at a spec sheet and basing things on that. But look, I totally get it. The phone that makes the most sense this year is the iPhone 17, and it comes in that beautiful blue color that I loved in the previous video. So maybe what we all really want is an Air Pro with the proper speakers, a couple more camera lenses, at least one more lens on there, and then maybe most of us would switch to it. At least I would. And so hopefully that comes in the future. But honestly, what I really want is just a folding phone from Apple. Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.